Running a compliance and ethics program is never easy. I think we all know that. Starting one is harder still. Helping to start many of them in a region without a history of a rule of law, still recovering from a war, still getting used to capitalism, and rife with corruption is a Herculean task. Many would turn and run from such a prospect. Only the very brave run straight into the fray. Bojan Bajić had the courage, vision, and dedication to not be daunted by the difficulties. He formed Net Consulting Limited with a vision of helping both private sector and government entities create compliance and ethics programs. Working with his colleague, Visnja Marilovic, they have made progress that few would ever have imagined. They created an IT system for managing compliance issues. Visnja helped blow the whistle on a $2 million bribery scheme. They helped get a whistleblower protection law passed at a time when few in the country knew what the term whistleblower even meant. And it became the first such law in Europe. They have won over the Ministry of Defense to the cause, and they launched the first compliance conference ever in the history of the Balkan regions. This opened the door in turn for the SCCE regional meeting, which will take place in Sarajevo on October 26th. And as I reached out to the business community there, and as I contacted the US Embassy, I think it's interesting that everyone knew Bojan, personally. Day in and day out, they and their colleagues work tirelessly to promote compliance and ethics throughout society and in the companies they serve. They do so with passion, courage, intelligence, and humility, and they do it without the resources that all of us tend to take for granted. It is for their path-making work that the SCCE is pleased to present them with our international award.
Thank you, Adam. First of all, I would like to solve my English-speaking problem, and let's do it in this way. If you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you, please start laughing, as I'm probably trying to make some joke or something. You know. Thank you, Adam, that you said that I had a vision. But in real life, I rather would say that I didn't have a vision. I was unconsciously self-confident. I really didn't know anything about compliance, about investigations, about whistleblowing. Everything was happened accidentally. I just was trying to do what I was thinking that is in my heart, is what is right to do in the country where compliance is unknown, where we don't have enough tradition, and when you need to think by your own how you need to create some system of compliance, you know. And because of that, I'm coming from that kind of country, from Southeast Europe, post-communistic country, transitional country, post-war countries, and we have a lot of that kind of countries without rule of law, without independent media, without independent justice. And if you have your US company there, it's very difficult to understand where you came and what can you predict, what can happen, you know. But I would like to give you just a few pictures. How did we get here? When I met my colleague Visnja 6 years ago, she was reported corruption in her public company, first internally, after that externally, and she was retaliated, and she was fired. And when she came to me and spoke about that problem, I told to her, we will not cry. Let's to write a law. We need some law to protect that kind of persons, because you have no right. But at that time, I didn't know that you called that kind of persons whistleblowers. I started to write a law, and some guy from Stephen Cohn from Washington, D.C. told me, you are working with whistleblowers. No, I told him, no, I'm working with persons who reported corruption. And he explained me that is a whistleblowers, you know. And at that time, he came to Bosnia and he gave us advice how to make that law using some experience from US, but he didn't told me that his proposal will be the first European law with pre-court protection. I didn't know that. If I knew that, I would lose all my courage to advocate, you know. And we find and we find 8 parliamentarians, convince them that that is a good thing to do. They adopt a law, and now you cannot believe we are a small country, poor country, but we are the first European country for whistleblower protection with pre-court protection. And some international whistleblowing groups advised and recommend to United Kingdom to follow Bosnian example. It's real fun, you know. After that, somebody told us, you know, if you have whistleblower protection law, you need to have a hotline. What is hotline? Something to report, you know. Okay, let's do it to make that hotline, and we create some software and we learn about investigation, you know. And our first client in Bosnia who implement whistleblowing hotline was Ministry of Defense of Bosnia and Herzegovina. An American from US Embassy in Sarajevo invited me to meeting and asked, how is it possible? Ministry of Defense, how you, I don't know. I went to them, I told them it's a good thing and they accept and we implement, you know. After that we realized that we have a new problem. Who will receive reports? And somebody told us that you need to put some guy or woman that is called it compliance officer. Oh God, what is compliance officer? We started to find new information about, okay, and when we see that compliance officer is a good thing, we convinced other public institutions and some private companies to put in place compliance officer for receiving reports. But after some time, we saw that there are not enough reports. And somebody told us, you cannot have reports without culture. And if you would like to have a culture, you need a whole compliance program. Some 7 elements. Oh God, we spent 3 years for this one element to understand, and now we have 7. Okay, I will find. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it 7. I told them in my team, let's do it 7. Risk assessment, code of conduct, investigation, everything, and to try to implement some piece of compliance somewhere. To learn and try, you know. And after we finalize something, sentencing guidelines and something, and we tried, and we were very happy to offer to everyone in Bosnia. But we were surprised. No one would like to implement. And we, after 6 years, we had a meeting and say something, it's not okay. You know, let's invite that guy, Roy Snell, to come to Sarajevo to explain what's happening. You know, and he came and I asked him, you know, Roy, people don't like to implement, why? And at the final stage of, we try to offer whole support for free. But just one guy invite us to talk with us about compliance program, you know. And Roy told us, you know, in United States, if we don't have regulation and if you, for that, it will be small business, small number of people who will implement that. And now, because of Roy, we are working with the companies to adopt new regulations. We are working everything, you know. And I will finish now. I don't know now we are working with to work on regulation, you know. We invite US companies, European companies to sit together with government and to make anti-corruption regulations, but some compliance officer told us, no, it's not possible. You cannot have companies to work in government. It could be breach of FCPA. Somebody could arrested you. And that is now my question for all of you. If you can help me to explain now what to do in this situation. And also, please, if you have any suggestion to me what to do next, please be welcome to come and tell me. As I have almost 30 years until my retirement. I have enough time. Thank you all. Thank you.
Hello to everybody. Up until 6 years ago, I have never heard terms of whistleblower or corporate ethics and compliance. But I knew what was right and what was wrong. You know that pain in your stomach and heat in your cheeks. That is exactly how I felt whenever I was looking at the financial documentation of public company where I was worked in financial department. I saw corruption, fraud, collusion, bribe, and how company was collapsing together with all employees and their families. I wrote to the director that I see all, from tax evasion to money laundering, and I had direct confrontation with no success. Brutal robbing had reached the amount of $2 million. I had a choice to leave the company or stay and make things right. To stay and make things right, that was my choice. With the documentation, I went to the prosecutor office, to Anti-Corruption and Economic Crime Department. And I will be honest, unfortunately, I found out firsthand what term retaliation really means, and only later what are whistleblower and corporate ethics and compliance. Isolation, firing, discrimination, threats, police protection for me and my kids, alone, without existence or future. Then came Bojan, whom is tonight with us. In that moment, he was running a small NGO, which was advocate protection for whistleblower. That is how I find about the term of whistleblower. And again, I had a choice to leave the country where I was born, in which I survived the horrific war, or stay and make things right. I decided to stay and join Bojan in his idea. We were going to create a law for protection of whistleblowers. I decided I survived the war, and now I will survive the peace. After 4 years, court decide director is guilty, and Parliament of Bosnia and Herzegovina adopted the first European law for whistleblowers with pre-court protection. Exploring the field of whistleblowing, we find an ocean of corporate ethics and compliance, an ocean of hope for our country and the region we came from. These wonderful rules and regulations, which you maybe think are too many and that they make businesses process difficult, but trust me, when I tell you that you cannot imagine a worse horror than working in a system which doesn't have a rules or is selectively applying the rules. The website of SCCE was source of our knowledge. We read, analyze, discuss every word which we found there. We had deep understanding of purpose of rules and ethics in business. Last year in one moment, Bojan told us that he sent mail to SCCE, to Roy Snell, and invite him in Sarajevo. We thought that he was joking with us because SCCE is so big and working at the global level, and we are so small and insignificant. And all those people whose articles we read probably didn't even know where Bosnia is, let alone go there. But SCCE came to Sarajevo. Roy Snell came to Sarajevo to Bosnia. A few months later, Joe Murphy came as well. You cannot even imagine what that meant for us. Motivation, energy, faith, vision, that our country will be a place where we're doing the right thing, and that is only right thing to do. And now I no longer using term I decided. Why? I'm not longer alone. Now we are a group of people, a group which is constantly growing, and we have a vision. We decided to make things right. We decided to stay and survive no matter how difficult or complicated it will be, because doing the right thing is only right thing to do. Thank you all once again.